Hello and welcome back to Wario Land 4. On the last episode, we finished the game, and in this episode, we finish the game on hard mode. This is an entire playthrough, maybe two entire playthroughs of hard mode, edited down for your viewing pleasure. Pleasure? So yes, an entire playthrough of two entire playthroughs of hard mode, edited down, 5.5 hours of footage, because I only used one of the playthroughs, edited down to like, 10 minutes. We're just going to be going over the differences between normal and hard, so we can jump straight to shard mode and talk about unlocking shard mode at the end of this video. Honestly, you can probably tell most of the differences between normal and hard mode just via what you've seen from the entry passage. I mean, we're still fighting Spoiled Rotten. I mean, that's done now because, hey, it's edited down for your viewing pleasure, but let's jump into the differences, shall we? So the meat of this video is going to be showing off where jewel chests are, and the reason for that is jewel chest locations have changed. Some of them are still in the same location, like you noticed with the Hall of Hieroglyphs, they were all in the same place. They're all in the same place in like the Golden Passage, and there's probably a few here and there that are in the same locations, but for more often than not, they've been moved off the beaten path and like swapped with like diamond locations to make you kind of have to explore a bit more as opposed to kind of just being able to blunder along the critical path like you could in normal mode and collect all of the jewel chests. There are three unique ones I want to talk about, two just because I kind of missed the location that they were in our normal playthrough, and one just because it's kind of an interesting difference as opposed to the rest. I tried to give enough context in the video so you guys could find the chests yourselves, just based off of the video. I was proud of this Cactus boss fight. I figured out what you would do to one-cycle him, not to say that I did one-cycle him, because I did not, but maybe we can have some fun in shard mode. So, enemies are also a thing. Enemies are a thing. That thing that just flew by is an enemy, believe it or not. I know, astounding. It's an enemy that doesn't exist in normal mode called a robo-bird, and it's not a complicated enemy. It's just a bird-like enemy that flies straight at you in a straight line once you enter its field of vision. It's not unique. It's in every single Wario Land game in some regard, but it doesn't exist in normal mode. You won't see it until hard and shard. It only exists in the Curious Factory, so it's a curiosity indeed. I just felt the need to point it out since we probably wouldn't see it. I mean, we're going to see it in shard mode, but I wanted it to be known that it existed. So yes, there's more enemies than there were in normal mode. Their placement has been changed up to make them a bit more difficult, or make the arrangement a bit more difficult. And the types of enemies have also changed. Like in the Hall of Hieroglyphs, as you saw, there was spearmen instead of the weak Marumen. So there's a few instances of that all around. So coming up right after this jewel chest, we actually have our first jewel chest that I want to talk about right here. This is a secret area that I don't believe I found in our normal mode playthrough. And that being said, though, as annoyed as I am with it because I had to go and replay Pinball Zone a couple times for more than one reason, that one being like, oh, I missed a jewel piece, I gotta go back. But I feel like it has a decent tell to it. I just didn't notice it because it's a bit more complicated of a tell than the ones I normally praise. The tell being more pattern-based, because all of those like pinball like scepter rooms have like a left and right area to them, and that one seemingly doesn't have like a left area, I suppose. And it's just because it's a breakable wall. So while there isn't like a good tell, so you, the player, can like just look at a glance and go, oh, there's something back there. There's a more systemic? I don't know, tell there, and that like, oh, there were areas like this in other similar rooms. I should check this out while I'm back there. Another thing we need to talk about is vortex time. You have less time to get to the vortex from if you hit the frog switch in hard mode. Here are the times in a convenient, handy little chart, courtesy of the Mario Wiki, that I went ahead and edited out the shard times, and then recentered some text, just so you guys can see it, because I didn't feel like editing in all of the vortex times. It was already a rough editing job. Aerodent, ooh boy, Aerodent was a boss. I had to reset like 12 times against him to get a good run where I got all the treasures. Some of those just being like, oh, I'm not going to make it, I should just reset. So hardest boss I had. This jewel chest right here is interesting in that it swaps locations with the compact disc, which is why I showed the compact disc off there. It is the only time in hard mode where the compact disc changed locations, unless I'm just completely crazy, but I'm pretty certain that was the only time it changed locations, which made it kind of an interesting curiosity for me. This time I'm saying curiosity in a legit sense. I'm not being cheeky, because before I said curiosity in regards to the enemy that only exists in the curious factor. So, hey. There's that. But getting back to bosses aren't any more difficult inherently. Like, their patterns haven't changed. They haven't become faster or more aggressive. The only difference with bosses is you have less time to fight them, as you can see once again by this convenient handy-dandy chart. You have a minute less to fight all of the bosses, with the exception of Spoiled Rotten, who gives you half the time to fight him with like 30 seconds now. So yes, you just need to be a bit faster, a bit more careful when fighting the bosses, because now you only have 4 starting hearts as opposed to the 8, so it's more in line with what you would start a level with in normal and hard mode. This is another one of the chests I want to talk about, because I missed this tell when we first played the Fiery Cavern. And the tell is that there is kind of like a sprinkle of like those like wall crystals and a straight line leading you back there, which might make you go, oh, I wonder if something's back there. But you need to hit it with Snowman Wario, and conveniently, there is a hill and the ability to become Snowman Wario like right there. So it's not that hard to kind of like go, oh, I should experiment with this and figure it out. But it went past me, so whoops, you know. It was the post fold. I was panicking a little bit. I mean, as you can tell, my normal state of being is kind of just to always be panicking just a little bit. So putting a timer over that, you know, I missed it, and it was fine and good. And in the long run, I suppose. I mean, maybe not at the moment, but hey, I'd replay Fiery Cavern once. Who cares? So items cost 50% more than they did in normal mode, and that's about it. And that's why you get all of this footage of the item shop. That's the only reason, not because I wanted to put a fun sound effect in or anything. Only reason. Yep. So something, I think I've hit all of my talking points for now. So I just wanted to mention that the Golden Passage has its own musical theme, which is what you're hearing right now. And that's about it with it. You normally don't hear the Golden Passage thing because, you know, it normally plays Hurry Up the entire time you're in there because you land on the frog switch immediately. We'll be hearing it again in the super hard playthrough because I'm going to edit it in while we play the Golden Passage. The ending to hard mode is also different. Wario drives home in a truck instead of his Wario car, and then you get this image of Wario hanging out with some lady on his red non-canon sports car. The Wario car is purple. I wanted to show off this screen because there is something very important I wanted to show off. Those 2 screens, those are 2 different screens from 2 different playthroughs. Like I mentioned earlier, I had to do 2 playthroughs of hard mode, and the reason for that is every source on the internet said you beat hard mode, you unlock shard mode. And I had unlocked shard mode before, and I was like, yeah, okay, that checks out. I probably didn't get everything. Whatever, you unlock hard, you get shard. No problem. So I just rambled through the game. I didn't go out of my way to get treasure. I got all the mandatory stuff. I didn't bother to get all the CDs. And I missed 1 treasure against Aerodit. And I was like, whatever, who cares? I'll do better in shard mode. I beat the game, did not unlock shard mode. So I started, when I finished the game, I was like, oh, maybe you don't get a confirmation you get shard. So I deleted my file, tried to start a shard playthrough, did not get it. And I hadn't made a save state in a while. So I ended up replaying hard, which probably sounds ridiculous. And it is. To be fair, it is. But I started digging a bit more on the internet, and while most sources say you beat hard, you get shard, I found one that said you need to beat hard with all the boss treasures and gold crown in every level, with the exception of the Hall of Hieroglyphs, which is impossible because there's not enough money to go around in the Hall of Hieroglyphs in hard mode, unless there's just more money just somewhere that I missed out on, which is completely possible. So I went and did that. And unlocked shard, and also got this fancy new file select screen. But I think if you get all of the boss treasures, you'll unlock shard, and if you get all the boss treasures and the gold crown in every level, that's what unlocks this file select screen. That's just a guess on my part. I didn't test that because I didn't want to play it hard mode a 3rd time. But I think that they might be separate unlocks, but it wouldn't be the first time in the Wario Land series where 2 different criterias unlock 2 different things at the same time. You know, that happened in like Wario Land 2 with the really final chapter, and DD flag, duck flag, that game. So that's it for this video. On the next episode, we're going to begin our playthrough of Shard Mode in its entirety, with each episode being its own passage. So they're going to be kind of doozies of episodes. So prepare yourself for some Shard times ahead. I'll see you guys then, and that was Hard Mode.